What's up, Junkies? Nebraska's back at home. We're still looking for bowl eligibility. Maryland comes to town, and we're looking to terrapin that ass.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go! Holy cow!
Big Red Junkies.
Game by day! Game by day! He gets better and better! He gets better and better! Team is JPB! Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out!
Hey, before we go any further, I want all you junkies to like, subscribe, and share.
That's the new thing. We're just starting the show from now on.
Are you gonna chug that too?
I'm prepping for the week.
So last week, for those of you that didn't get to watch the video and you only listened, Matt opened the show by chugging a beer.
God, it was bad.
This week, it was the cork on his old whiskey bottle over here. So, welcome to the Big Red Junkies. We are breaking down Maryland and Nebraska today. I know that I am personally very excited about this game after watching the press conferences this week. Just from a standpoint of, I feel like the coaches pretty much, not so much Satterfield, but definitely Tony White and Rhule both acknowledged, without saying it, even defending saying it, that basically we came out flat. We played flat against Michigan State.
None of them threw anybody under the bus, or even the team under the bus as a whole. They were just, but yeah, that was a bad game plan, everything.
You know, we've talked a lot it's been half the fucking season now since we realized the defense was as good as it is, about whether or not the offense was going to start, whether or not the defense was going to start, resenting the offense, or whether or not the offense would start affecting the defense. I think hearing Tony White basically acknowledge that the offense has affected the defense and affected his play calling in the Michigan State game, that was kind of shocking to me. I don't think he intended it to be that blatant, but he basically got up there and said, the way the game was going and it just felt like we were in a rut, I felt like every time I read something and I should have been aggressive, I was calling it to be safe because I didn't want him to pop a big one over the top because I didn't know if we could come back from it.
I didn't take that as anything against the offense. They just didn't play up to their standard. The players said that multiple times. They said it on Tuesday. They said it after the game. The defensive players that were up on the podium, they were just like, no, this was not our standard, and we didn't play very good.
I'm not talking about the way they played. I'm talking about the way he called plays. The way he called plays and how he specifically said the game was in a rut. We weren't moving anywhere. The game was in a rut. I felt like in those moments where I should have been aggressive, I played it safe because I didn't want him to bust it over the top. I was asking while we were watching the game, why are we seeing them complete so many of these underneath passes? It's like we're five yards behind a guy because he was calling the game that way. He didn't want to be beat over the top for a big play. Stay behind him, trying to hold him to a field goal. I
think it was more they were because the announcers...
He literally said it in his press conference.
But the announcers were talking about it, how Tony White told us before the game that they are keying on Carter, the running back. They were focused on the running game. They weren't focused on the passing game. They didn't care about anybody throwing it over the top. Why would you be scared of Michigan State?
He literally said it in the press conference.
Why would you be scared of Michigan State throwing anything over the top when the quarterbacks were terrible?
It's a game time decision. Yeah, he made that adjustment in the game.
He's talking about when he read it on the field and he could call, get up there and blitz or get back. He was making adjustments. He's talking about his in-game adjustments when he should have been aggressive, that he was calling it to be safe and stay back.
Really, I think the takeaway is that coaching in general for that game was put on its heels and never recovered.
Yeah.
We started back early.
Well, we're not trying to rehash the game.
No. I was getting to a point, which is the coaches now have a game plan for that, and so we don't have to worry about that as much this coming week, especially against a better team.
I think one of the biggest things I took from the press conference of Tony White, he said, we did not play aggressive enough. Our game plan was not aggressive enough, and that's basically we're going to go back to the way we have been playing.
A couple other things I picked up from him were, it sounds like we're going to get a rash of those dudes that they're redshirting that are now going to be available. It sounded like there were a few extra guys in the back end that are going to be coming available that they want to focus on trying to get at least a few snaps this next couple weeks. I mean, at what point are we almost gluttonous when it comes
to defense?
Yeah.
Like who though? Like who are they going to play over?
He specifically mentioned Ethan Nation. I can't remember the other one that he mentioned right off the top of my head. Corey Collier was another one that he mentioned. Just being able to get those guys out there and that they've earned some reps, things like that.
I don't know how they would earn reps over the guys that are out there right now.
I don't think it's over the guys.
It's more about rotation. It's more about having that extra.
I'd rather have those guys that have been out there all year out there on defense. I understand it on offense. There's a lot of guys that could get in there, specifically offensive linemen. Defense, I don't understand why you would want to rotate.
I think, actually, I really like it. I think if you have the talent and you want to see what they're made of in a game where they can have some opportunities to flex their muscles a bit, do it.
I get that.
Obviously, if they get out there and they get beat, you pull them back out of the game. But if they get out there and they shine, you got more talent next year.
Considering Nebraska still has something to play for, I would rather have the guys that have been there all season.
I don't think they're going to put anybody in a game that's not ready.
Well,
they've shown that on defense they're not ready to put guys into games that aren't ready.
I'd still rather have the guys that have been out there all season with the massive rotation that they've already have. I'm good with, unless the game's a blowout one way or the other, then cool, get those guys in there. But I wouldn't force those guys in there, I guess.
You heard it here, folks. Jed's calling a blowout.
I said one way or the other. I didn't say which one.
What? Okay, so let me ask you this. Why, to this point, have you trusted Tony White's decision-making and all those things, and now that he says he's going to have the ability to bring in a couple extra guys that maybe they were holding off until now because of redshirting, that they've played well enough in practice, they've practiced well enough to put themselves in a position to be able to get on the field for a few plays, why would you question his decision-making putting them in?
The way that I'm phrasing this more is I'll believe it when I see it, and also I think it's a lot of just talk until it happens. I mean, we heard this in the offseason. I know this is a defensive conversation, but the offseason, we heard all this stuff about the fullback and stuff like that, and we all said, well,
we
whatever.
heard a shit ton of stuff about offense that we haven't seen.
But
everything Tony White's told us on defense, there's no reason not to believe him, and I don't know why he'd bring that up and specifically name guys in a press conference if he wasn't intending to give him an opportunity.
I don't get it at all. I don't know what the reasoning behind it would be. But
it came on the heels of talking about that. Who's the DN guy? The kid that came out of nowhere.
Leonhard.
No.
I was gonna say
the
Williams kid.
Yeah, Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was off the heels of a question for him because he got like 15 snaps last week, whereas prior to that he had only been coming in on pass rush. Third down plays, and he said that because of his work with Knighton that he had, he'd earned the opportunity to get out there and get some more reps, and so that's why he's in the mix. And if you saw on the depth chart this week, he's number 2 on the end, and I think that's awesome. But it came on the heels of that. He mentioned that there's other guys that have been kind of sitting back waiting their turn, and now that we're finally to that part of the season that we're able to let them get some reps too, we're going to see some other guys get in the game. It's exciting for me because, I mean, you saw a couple different times last week, especially when it only happened a couple times that Michigan State tried to go tempo on us, but it seemed like a couple guys got beat just because they were getting tired. And if you have the ability to rotate in extra guys and stay even fresher at all those positions, why not? If the level of play is not dropping off that far.
I like having Marcus Buford back. I don't mind having him in there. The other guys, if they work out, great. I'm just sitting here right now. It's like, whatever. If they get in, cool. If they don't, I'd rather just have the experienced guys.
Jed was too positive 2 weeks or 2 shows ago.
He blew his whole positive load.
He's back to being all negative Jed.
He's even hunched over.
Christmas is coming. He's getting his bah humbug on.
Well, we are in the last quarter of the season.
Well, I mean, outside of that, did we take anything else out of the press conference?
I really liked Satterfield talking about how almost that they're going to get out of Heinrich Haarberg's head, where he brought up how they told Haarberg, we want to see the Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech Heinrich Haarberg. They specifically said where you're running
the same thing the rest of the fan base said to them this last 2 weeks,
where you're running through people's face masks.
Yeah, go hit somebody. Yeah.
No, they said run through their face. That's what you were doing before. Yeah. That's what we want you to do again. You know, the last couple of weeks, they've been really focused on teaching, showing him when to slide. That's kind of one of those. I asked you guys that question a couple weeks ago. Is he running tentative because he's injured, or is it the accumulation of all the hits? I think it's just now I think it's just mental.
What he's supposed to do.
He's thinking too much out there.
Look, we already know that he's a bad shot. So if you're going to be a gunslinger, just shoot all the bullets. Just go do your thing.
That's one thing. So I'm hoping that that's the Heinrich Haarberg we see. Not that means that that's a great version of Heinrich Haarberg, but it's the better version than what we've been seeing.
It's fantastic for our run game.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The passing's going to be the same either way.
Yeah.
If they could call 8 of those drag routes across, the mesh drag routes where he can catch a guy 10 yards away on a little rollout where the guy's running free on the right side and it goes for 10 or 12 yards, throw 8 or 10 of those a game. Dump a couple over the top if there's nobody back there and you've got somebody running free. Other than that, run the fucking ball the way you did the first fucking half of the season.
And those routes are going to be open like we saw in the Michigan State game because Purdue showed the blueprint. Michigan State followed the blueprint to just bring everybody up. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're loading up 8 or 9 guys in the box, but the safeties are crashing hard on the run game against us because they know that's the only thing we could possibly do because our passing game sucks. So you bring everybody up. Those crossing routes that you're talking about, all that stuff, going over the top of the linebackers, that's the middle of the field is going to be open for guys like Fedoni. Hopefully he can catch Malachi Coleman, things like that. Those plays can be open. It's just whether or not the quarterback can get him the ball.
It'll be interesting to see, too, how tightly this game is called after how much scrutiny nationally there was on that game against Michigan State. Because there were different, bad beats moments, picked it up for Scott Van Pelt, the end of the game, the reffing stuff. The reffing stuff was talked about, on ESPN and on Fox and all that stuff. So I wonder if the Big Ten is going to be okay, well, you need to call this game tight as fuck, and we're going to see a lot of penalties in this game.
But every Big Ten game has bad referee calls.
I was going to say,
and they still don't get better. So
we talked about that.
They could give us their best crew, and I still don't feel good about it.
What makes you think that all of a sudden they're going to call a game well?
I didn't say call it well. I said more penalties.
And also, more penalties to me just equals ticky-tack bullshit calls, too.
There were a lot of things that didn't get called that weren't ticky-tack.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
that was on both sides.
I don't want such
I'm not saying it was unfair one way or the other.
I know.
I don't want the slingshot of, okay, this game is boring as fuck to watch because we've seen so many fucking penalties.
Yeah. We had that a couple weeks ago. Anything else from you guys about the press conferences?
No, not really.
The only other thing that I thought of that, I thought it was funny that it almost seemed like Rhule was the most relaxed and almost jovial and conversational after a loss than he was after the last 3 wins that we had. Because he talked for 36 minutes on Monday, and he went through a lot of stuff. He addressed a lot of things. I was really happy to hear that Prince Will is going to be most likely back this week because we found out it was concussion protocol last week. Thought it was really funny how he corrected himself. He's going through protocol, couldn't get out of it. He wasn't healthy. It's like, what are you coaching him to try and beat the test? What's going on here? But no, outside of that, I thought it was good that he stood up and he did address and he talked about the two. He even brought up the Rob touchdown in the Minnesota game, and kind of just talked about the difference between a ref missing a call and replay. He's like, we gotta protect the refs. We can't beat up the refs too bad. We need them to be out there in order to play the game. But I don't understand replay fucking stuff up like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was super fair the way he said it, and I don't think he would have said that if he hadn't already had confirmation from the Big Ten that he was correct in those calls.
Yep.
And we never really heard that after the Minnesota game. But now I feel like we've heard you were vindicated in thinking that those both were not touchdowns by the Big Ten officer. You wouldn't have said that on
especially when he said, and I don't know if this is the exact quote, but he said, everybody's in agreement that wasn't a touchdown.
Yeah.
And when he's going to say everybody, that means the Big Ten called him and said, it wasn't really a
Matt
touchdown.
Rhule picks his words specifically.
Yeah.
He does. He's like a politician that way.
Yep.
Only last thing about the press conferences, our guy Jamie Nelson, you said he's one of your buddies, right? Out on Big Red Junkies Nation. By the way, if you're not there, Follow us on Facebook, Big Red Junkies. We also have our fan group, Big Red Junkies Nation. It's kind of turned into like a podcast fan group. There's a lot of podcasts that post stuff in there. A lot of good, fun content. It is for adults. If you're one that gets your feelings hurt easily,
Fuck off.
fuck off. Stay the fuck out of there. You're probably already not listening, so you're not going to hear about it anyway. But what up, Jamie Nelson? Thanks for all the stuff here. What we were actually looking for were questions for our pipe or no pipe segment, whether or not something was a pipe dream. But you actually gave us some good stuff to talk about here. And I thought it was interesting the thing you brought up about are the two sides of the ball taking on the mentality of their coach. He asked if, he said the defense is fired up. Tony White is fired up when he talks. He's aggressive. He's succinct. He says what he means. He's attacking in his speech, and that he goes after it, and that's embodied by the defense. They're always fired up. They're ready to get out there and go. On the flip side, Satterfield just kind of seems ho-hum. Jed and I lamented when we were watching it a little bit before you got here that he's almost like everybody else all sounds the same, but then you get Satterfield, and he's kind of aloof. He kind of seems like he doesn't really want to be on the podium. Seems a little bit like he doesn't care. It's kind of like Scott Frost was. And you said, I don't think it would bother a lot of people if we didn't just get rid of that.
Yeah. And we're not saying that he doesn't care.
No, not at all.
Just to make sure that nobody hears that, says, because obviously we believe that he cares.
I think
it's just the way that he comes across.
Yeah,
yes.
he just doesn't like press conferences. There's a difference.
Yes.
But I mean, you might be onto something. To answer your question, Jay, you might be onto something. I don't know. Either you guys have anything on this? I've
read that question from him, and my biggest thing is like, well, but we've seen this here at Nebraska. Like Charlie McBride, very fiery, loud. And also, I think that that's what defenses should be. They should be much more energetic and fiery, all that stuff. And then I know he was the head coach, but he was the play caller. So Tom Osborne, very ho-hum, methodical, nonchalant, kind of just monotone voice. Bueller,
go about your business.
But I wouldn't say that the 90s offense under Osborne or any offense under Osborne was
bad
like that. As far as
or
just
ho-hum,
monotone, like they were very explosive. They were very physical. So, I mean, I get the point. Because a lot of people talk about stuff like that. They talk about, whether it's a coach like, and I'm just going to bring this up because it's local, a coach like Bo Pelini that's a fiery, or you get a guy like, I know I could say Mike Riley, who's, just down to earth, whatever. But even like...
You mean up in the clouds?
But even like a Phil Jackson, a guy that just kind of sits there, at least during games and stuff like that. I know there's stories of Phil Jackson in practices and all that stuff are totally different, but you get a guy that just sits there and just kind of lets the game happen and stuff like that. It's all just however you are built. And the team knows what kind of person these coaches are. So I don't know if it's really that way, but we've seen it here before at Nebraska where this coach that is just mellow, but the offense is definitely not. So I don't know.
You have an opinion on this one at all?
Not really. I think it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
I would agree with it more being a coincidence.
I think our defense is good, and so they come across really fiery. I think our offense is bad, so they come across ho-hum.
I mean, that's a short, simple, sweet version.
It's called confidence.
It is confidence, 100%.
I don't think our defense fucking everybody up the way they are just comes from our defensive coordinator's confidence.
Yeah.
No, but at the same time, looking at the way Rhule builds out his staff, looking at the way Rhule builds out his team, he goes after guys that sound the same, that walk the same, that talk the same, that do the same stuff. Maybe on a press conference setting, Satterfield doesn't fit that bill, but Satterfield was one of Rhule's first calls to fill out his staff.
Also, before the season, we were talking about Tony White being the odd man out and not really saying much in press conferences
because he has never
not
coached
fitting the mold because exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I don't really see it.
I feel like even though we might not see it from the public perspective on the podium, that he's got to still be doing the stuff that Rhule wants him to be doing, or he wouldn't be here.
No,
and he definitely wouldn't have been a first option for him. Mm-hmm. That being said, you guys want to bounce into those pipe or no pipe questions? Here we go.
Pipe or no pipe?
From a USC fan's perspective, is it pipe or no pipe? Tony White takes the D coordinator job.
For them, it would be pipe because he's not going anywhere. He's not, unless he's a head coach. He's not going to USC. I don't even think USC's calling him, so it doesn't really matter.
Get pipe. That's a lateral move, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You don't go from your spot here to your spot there if you're not moving up.
Nope.
So either NFL. I can see him being a coordinator in the NFL, but otherwise.
But that's not a lateral move.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not USC.
Yeah.
Pipe or no pipe?
Nebraska, Purdue, Northwestern, and Rutgers win this weekend, giving Nebraska the lead in the Big Ten West.
Fat pipe. I could see a couple of those happening, all four at the same time. That's like lightning hitting you the same time, twice on the same day.
Yeah, I'm going to lay that big fat pipe right on the chin. Like, that is not happening.
Pipe or no pipe?
We see Chubba Purdy play a snap this week, not due to injury.
I'm going to lay another fat pipe on the chin, on the other pipe that's on the other chin.
Jesus
Christ. No.
I don't even know what to do with all that, but
I don't even know how you smoke that all at the same time.
just regular
Well,
size pipe.
she
for
figures
me.
out a way.
Like
Regular size.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Like we talked on the last show, unless there's an injury, we're going with the guy we got.
Yeah.
Pipe or no pipe?
What up, Stacy? Nebraska volleyball makes it through the season undefeated.
It's small pipe. It's so hard to go undefeated, especially when you play that many games in the season.
So Stacy's going to be really pissed off at me. I'm going to say a big pipe because I did a little bit of research on this one. It's been 14 years since a team went undefeated in volleyball, and it's not going to happen this time.
I also don't want them to, because that puts so much more pressure on you at the end of the year.
Hey,
Also, it doesn't matter.
also,
because-
it's volleyball. Who gives a fuck?
Well, I'm not going to say that, but because I still want them to win.
Yeah,
but
no,
I'm with you.
it-
I like
it-
Nebraska winning and everything.
when you have a 60-14 tournament, it doesn't fucking matter.
No.
Stacy, we appeased you with the volleyball question this week. I expect a real question out of you for next week. Love you. Let's jump into previewing Maryland here, man. Do you want to start off with the funny information, or do you have any this week?
I do. Well, I don't know how funny it is, but Maryland was very tough.
Interesting.
Pushing it.
Hey, I was trying to help. You know what they have?
I know.
6 libraries. Fuck off.
Yeah, I know. So
That's on their website.
this is the most.
That's an interesting fact.
Are you serious?
They have 6
It's listed as an interesting fact. Don't you find this interesting? We have 6 libraries.
No, I don't at all.
In case you want to not use the internet and be a nerd.
So
Here's
this
6 places to do it.
This is how Big Red Junkies does it, as far as interesting facts. There's a guy named George Lauer that graduated from Maryland a long fucking time ago. He is actually the inventor of the UPC, the barcodes that we all use to scan our groceries and everything else like that. So he went to Maryland. He got a job for IBM. He went to the military, World War II, all this stuff. So we can't crack on him. And out when he like survived polio as a kid.
Jesus.
Like he's gone through some shit.
And he had to go to Maryland.
And he went to IBM after the military and after Maryland, and he's the inventor of something that we use every single day. It said as of 2019, a UPC barcode is scanned over 6 billion times a day.
I believe it.
It's like, and I went to the store before I came over here, and I was scanning stuff, and I was like, oh, yep.
Man changed the world. That's a boring ass
I
fun
know
fact.
it
Yeah, no shit.
And they have 6 libraries.
Here's my fun fact for Maryland. They list their college campus size as 5 square kilometers because they're not in fucking America, apparently. Yeah, fart noise. Moving on. Let's jump into the offense first there, Jed.
Well, Maryland is, before I get into the offense, Maryland is a team, everybody talks about them at the beginning of the year because they always start the year 4-0, 5-0, 4-1, whatever it is. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're a top 20, top 15 team. Maybe they're going to sneak up on people. They could maybe compete against Ohio State, like with what happened this year where I think they started 5-0 or whatever it was. And then every single year they just collapse and they play like shit as the season continues. So the last 3 years, the record by month, in the month in September, they're 12-1. In October, they're 4-7. In November, they're 2-7.
Jesus.
So it's like, as they get into conference play, they just plummet. And the numbers back it up so far this year. They're the exact same thing as they have been. They have their running game isn't horrendous. They don't do it enough that it's like effective, but they do have the second most 10+ yard running plays in the Big Ten with 102.
Wow.
Or they have the most. I'm sorry, not the second most. They have the most, and they have the third most 20+ yard passing plays.
And the third ranked offense in the Big Ten.
Yeah, their offensive line, they've bounced. They've had 8 different starters on the offensive line this year. Their left guard or their left tackle has been the same guy all year, but everybody else has been a big rotation. Their left guard and their right guard, at the beginning of the season, are now switched. So the guy that started as their left guard is now their right guard. The guy that started as their right guard is now their left guard. They've been in and out. The right tackle has been a cycle, and there's been 2 guys at the center position that has rotated all year. So I don't know that I would really call them a patchwork offensive line like ours is, because it's still the same 8 guys. We are bringing in new guys, unfortunately, seeming on a consistent basis.
Pretty much every week.
Yeah. They rotate 3 running backs, but it's pretty much Roman Hemby is their main guy. He's also a threat to catch passes out of the backfield. He has the 5th most catches on the team. As far as the running game, though, yes, he gets a couple of yards. It's almost a little bit like the Michigan State running back last year, where he gets some yards, but he doesn't get in the end zone. He hasn't scored a rushing touchdown since week 3. You know, Carter last week, he hadn't scored it, and he still hasn't scored a touchdown since week 2. So, the quarterback position, we all know, Tagovailoa is really good. I mean, there's really not much else you can really say about him. Wide receiver wise,
I truly think we I don't remember who we got in the discussion with about this. I think he's very, very similar to his brother.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have all the weapons around him that his brother had.
Yep.
He makes the same type of plays. I don't know if he is or not. I actually didn't look this up, but he seems a little bit bigger than Tua. And he's right-handed, so that helps.
Mm-hmm.
His receivers and running backs don't have to figure out how to catch the ball from him.
But as far as the wide receivers, they spread the ball around. They have 9 different guys that have caught a touchdown pass.
Oh, wow.
3 of the guys have 4 or more. Nebraska has 5 guys that have caught a touchdown pass this year. Only 1 of them with more than 1. So, like I said, they spread the ball around. Their leading wide receiver is Deshaun Jones. He was also the leading wide receiver last year, so he's got experience. But
well, they scored so all those stats that you're listing off, they scored a shit ton of points the first 6 games of the season.
Well, again,
first 5 games of the season.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, as they get into conference play, just...
And the best defense that they played in that entire run is Michigan State the week after Mel Tucker got fired.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they beat Townsend. Don't even know where the fuck that is. I'm guessing like New Jersey or fucking Delaware or something like that. Charlotte, Virginia, before Virginia figured out what the fuck they were doing this year.
Yep.
I think Virginia was 0-2 going into that game. Michigan State and Indiana. And they beat the brakes off of pretty much all of them. And then you go to Ohio State, where they just get trounced.
Mm-hmm.
Lose a close one to Illinois. Lose a reasonably close one to Northwestern that wasn't that close. Northwestern controlled that game the entire way. And then you look at an absolute drubbing that they got from Penn State last week.
And that was also Ohio State without their stud running back, Travion Henderson. So, yeah.
Which is why it was close for the first quarter and a half.
Was Marvin Harrison Jr. in for that game or not? Because I know he was out for 1 or 2 games.
I don't know.
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They got beat down. And like we talked about just now, leading into the defense, they have gotten their doors blown off the last 5 weeks in a row. 4 weeks in a row.
Their defense, honestly, is just fucking boring, dude. They're middle of the road in pretty much every category. 8th overall in the Big Ten, 6th overall in rush defense, second to last in pass defense.
Wow.
They don't cause turnovers,
which doesn't play into our strength, but
no.
whatever.
But I mean, it gives us opportunity there.
Yeah.
They're giving up after September because, like he was saying, after September they become a much worse team. They're giving up over an extra 100 yards a game after September.
Much better offenses that they're playing, but yes,
True.
I'm picking up what you're putting
True,
down.
but that's a lot of yards.
Just in
it is a shit ton of extra
just
yards.
in passing alone, they're giving up an extra 60
Jesus Christ.
per game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not great. They don't really get much for turnovers. They're -8 over the last 2 months, and their turnover margin, obviously Nebraska's worse. But I mean, in their last 4 games, they have a total of 2 takeaways, 1 fumble, 1 interception. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really ball hawk. They don't even really tackle that well. I was looking at their tackling numbers. They only have 2 dudes that are over 30 in tackles for the year. It's this Bo Brady and whoever this Hippo Light guy is. It sounds like a drink. But they have those 2 guys, and then everybody else is in the 20s or below. Just for comparison, Nebraska has 8 guys that are over 30 in tackles on the year. They don't do much on defense.
They don't jump off the page.
They're not flashy at all.
No.
They don't have anybody who stands out.
No.
And it seems like their secondary is very vulnerable, which doesn't necessarily help us, but it doesn't hurt us either.
Yep.
I'm pretty excited about it. Mostly from a standpoint of, we talked during our second half preview that this was probably going to be our toughest game in the second half matchup wise. Like you just said, defensively, they match up against our strengths. Offensively, they match up against, if you're going to call it a weakness, our weaknesses. I feel like we've almost seen our passing defense get almost in line with our rushing defense over the last couple weeks.
Not last week.
Well,
last week
again,
was...
we just talked about how he was calling the game, and he was calling them to stay behind the guys, give them the underneath stuff, but not give them over top. He said he called himself out in his press conference. He called himself out for not being in the right place for, I think it was Gifford, who blew the read on the tight end, or to cover the tight end that was running down the middle of the field in the opening drive. And he said, if he sees me and he sees his assignment, he is able to cover him and we're off the field 3 and out. Instead, we let him put 3 points on the board for it. And so, whether that's actually his fault or whether or not it wasn't seen or somebody wasn't looking in the right place, whatever the fuck it might be, you look at learning opportunities like that in a game and the way that Tony White's defense has responded after a bad situation. I think we're going to see an extremely clean, extremely aggressive game from the defense this week.
I hope so. I mean,
We're going to need to if we stand a chance in this game.
I hope that they come out just like they did against Illinois.
Yep.
After the Michigan loss.
Just ready to fuck people up.
The downside to that is we gave up 280-something passing yards to Illinois in that game, so it's kind of like, and Maryland's a much better passing team. But
you
still,
think
overall,
Taulia is the number one threat on offense?
Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, he's the guy with the ball in his hands on every play, so yeah.
And they don't really have one big play wide receiver, do they?
No, they spread the ball around. They got the Jashawn Jones, who is their leading receiver, and he was the leading receiver last year as well, but they spread the ball around pretty well. Like I said, they have 3 guys with 4 or more touchdowns. So
Taulia is the number 1 threat on their team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Offense or defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if our offense can just do what they're good at, we could have a decent game.
And what is that?
Run the ball.
Are they? Because they haven't been lately.
Last 2 games has been rough.
They still have the second best.
They're technically
rushing
number
offense.
1 rushing offense in
Okay.
the Big Ten. I get it. But it's been going down the last handful of weeks. It's just that
Trending the wrong way.
it's so weird that Nebraska in week 10 or 11, whatever this is number 1 in the Big Ten in rushing offense when you have a team like Penn State who had 5 returning offensive linemen, 2 running backs. One of them was over 900 yards rushing last year. One was over 1,000 yards rushing last year. They're not number 1. Michigan with the offensive line that they have and Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. And then you got Wisconsin with Braylon Allen. I know he's injured right now, but still Wisconsin with an athlete like Braylon Allen.
We're kind of number 1 by necessity.
We're number 1 because of Heinrich Haarberg's first couple of games.
That's what I mean.
against
We're
Northern
number
Illinois.
one
I'm
because
also
we-
just going to say we're number 1 because we're pretty good at running the ball.
That's what I'm saying.
Plain
I'm
and
just saying
simple,
lately, we're not.
pretty good at running the ball. We've had a couple rough games of it.
Yes.
the thing to keep in mind there, and this is something else I was going to point out about Mr. Jamie Nelson's comments. He made a reference to the fact that the offense is struggling, and he specifically pointed out the offensive line has struggled. I don't think the offensive line has been near the problem this year that a lot of people have tried to point out.
Correct.
I think that you have a quarterback who doesn't go through progressions. You have a quarterback who doesn't throw the ball well. We do most of our damage on the ground, period. Yes, we've gotten some explosive plays in the past game, but the majority of our damage is done on the ground. And when you look at the fact that we've had 2 guys go down with season-ending injuries 3 games ago, 3 or 4 now.
2 games ago.
2 games ago.
2 games ago.
But one of them's back.
No, we had 2 of them go down with season-ending injuries.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That game we had 3 out, and Newelli's back now.
Yeah.
But he was first week back after having a meniscus repair. Is that what I understand?
Something like that, yeah.
Which is not something you normally come back a week later from.
No.
I don't know if they did kind of a Band-Aid thing on him and he's going to get more surgery after the season or what the deal is. But I really think you have to give the offensive line some credit, especially...
Or at least some slack.
Some slack, but I think you have to give them some credit. There were a lot of times last week where time was not the problem.
No.
Time was not the problem, a lot of it. I thought Prohaska played a much better game than he did 2 weeks ago, and I thought Benhart played a really good game again. Like he's a guy I feel like I'm now like awkwardly praising every week, because almost out of necessity because I was so mean to him last year.
And the year before that.
And the year before that.
I was focused on Jurgens 2 years ago. But as far as that goes, I just mean, if you're going to look at our offense as a whole, you really have to give a lot to our wide receivers and the way that they block downfield. And what they're doing, especially last game, they were all getting open tons, even though they weren't getting the ball. They're working their butts off, and you got to give a lot of credit to that offensive line. I think if they can clear the cobwebs and get Haarberg out of his head, like you said, might be a dangerous day on the ground for us.
Well, and the other thing is, like, it can't be too bad if you're leading the conference, not just in rushing, but you're leading the conference in 10-plus yard gains. You're leading the conference in 20-plus yard gains running the ball. Like, that's not...
The 20-plus yard speaks to the wide receivers blocking downfield.
But that's not a recipe to say that this offensive line sucks.
No, not at all.
Like,
it actually falls back and makes you kind of sound silly saying it.
Is this offensive line what we, number one, are used to, or number one, what we want? No.
Whoa. What we're used to? We're used to the offensive line sucking.
I'm talking guys like me back in the day.
No. 2 decades ago.
From before I was born.
Yeah.
2 decades ago, sure. But we haven't had a stellar offensive line since early Bo Pelini days.
But I'm just saying, like, it's not where we want to be, but it's definitely better than what we've seen in the last handful of years. Because we're getting some plays done. Now, again, is it sort of regressing the last couple weeks? Yeah. Maybe we can pick it up against Maryland. We'll find out.
It's also going to regress when you're piecemealing it in. Like,
yeah.
You lose 2 offensive linemen, 3 offensive linemen for 1 game. You've lost your top 3 running backs. You've lost your top 4 wide receiver threats. You lost your starting quarterback, and he wasn't very good anyway, so you replace him with another guy who hasn't played football in 3 fucking years. How much do people really expect from this offense?
Yeah,
I mean, seriously, though, like, of all the anger and all the things that all these fans are saying out there that our players and our coaches are reading.
You know what they want?
Instant success. Instant gratification. They want a national championship tomorrow.
They want Casey Thompson to come back.
Yeah, what the fuck ever. I don't want to hear his name anymore. I'm just... to me, it's if you just list out the things that have gone wrong that are out of the control of anyone on the offensive side of the ball other than Xavier Betts leaving, which was his control.
Mm-hmm.
How do you blame anybody for what's gone on with the offense this year? And how do you look at a team that in the first year of a rebuild is already, with 3 games left on the schedule, already ahead of schedule from where we have been the last 5 fucking years in a row?
I agree.
Under an offensive genius coach, and not just let this stuff go and just be excited and happy about what the future is going to bring us.
Or at least be optimistic that things are trending upwards.
Yeah. Anybody who says they're not trending upwards doesn't know how to fucking do math because 5 is more than 4.
So I'm hearing you guys are both going to be really optimistic when we get to our prop bets today.
Oh, I'm just basically, I'm going on a little rant to
I see
basically
that.
just tell everybody to shut the fuck up.
Although
Enjoy the moment and enjoy the growth we're going through.
I will say that I don't think that we are as good as our record is, but I also don't think that we're as bad as some people are saying
As
we
a
are.
fan,
No.
I can enjoy our success this year and still expect more.
I'm not saying we can't expect more. I'm saying don't
And
be
I
a
can,
douche about it.
I can still blame our offensive line for not being as good as they could be, or our starting quarterback for overthrowing the ball 4 or 5 times a game.
How do you know the offensive line's not as good as they could be?
Not as good as they were ranked to be, I should say. That they all came in with better expectations than being, in Corcoran's situation, the worst tackle
He
in the Big
wasn't
Ten.
supposed to be at tackle the whole fucking time.
Doesn't mean he's not a tackle.
He's not a tackle.
He is by position that he's playing.
He is
or
a tackle.
was playing, whatever.
Obviously, he's not in
turned
anymore.
not a tackle Corcoran.
So that's what I mean. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Shout out, what's his name? Jurgens.
Oh.
Not a center Jurgens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying, but
Who's
I can also
ironically
still
not playing
expect
guard.
more.
I'm not saying you can't expect more, but you also don't need to be
I'm
a
also
douche
not being
about
a
it.
keyboard warrior every
Yeah.
week and
Yeah.
being an asshole directly to the team.
Yeah.
So
So once again, that's none of you. We love all of you. That's not true. Don't be a douche. Anybody else that we're specifically focused on Maryland's side of the ball?
No.
dude, they don't have any.
Who's your key players you want to watch this week on offense for Nebraska? Is it Haarberg?
I think it has to be. Mainly, with, like I said, with what Satterfield talked about, is Haarberg going to get out of his own head? With everything that they've been trying to fill it in, which I'm not blaming them because they're trying to teach him. They're trying to advance him. They're trying to make him better. I get it, but I think it was too much for him.
I really hope that doesn't mean that they go completely away from the pass, because there's some opportunity there this week.
No, but I think if you settle back into that under 15 attempts range, that's manageable. Throwing the ball 30 times is not something Heinrich Haarberg should be doing.
I think it's an in-game decision. If it's working in the game, do it more. If
And
it's
I
not
think-
working in the game, do it less.
I think that's what happened in the Michigan State game with Satterfield up in the booth. He saw how many wide
He saw that
receivers
it could work.
were so wide open.
But
He
it
had a
wasn't
quarterback
working.
that could throw it.
I know.
He can't look at what could work. He needs to look at what is working.
Which goes back to what we talked about in the last show. Is it execution, or is it the coaches putting the players in the best position to be successful? It's probably both, but I mean, I can't really blame an offensive coordinator sitting up in the top of the stadium and seeing all these guys run wide open. It's like, and then seeing the defense crowd the line of scrimmage to take away our running game. You have to fucking run to keep them honest, or you have to throw. I'm sorry, to keep them honest.
Hmm.
So if you see these guys wide open and you see everybody crowding the box, you're going to call more passing plays. That's just, you talk about math. That's math. I can't really blame
Especially
him
when
for
you're getting
doing
open
it.
that way.
I can't really blame him for doing it. It just sucks that the execution didn't work.
So I hope whatever mind voodoo they're doing on him this week to get him back right works.
Yep.
But I don't want to see no passes in this game.
Slammer jammer time. I do think if we are going to see 15 plus passes, my guy to watch in that is Malachi. I thought him getting 5. No, I'm just saying.
I'm kidding.
No, but if you look at the last 4 weeks since he got that first target, we talked about it. He's progressed every week, and now they're to the point that Rhule brought him up, Satterfield brought him up. The way that he blocks draws attention to everybody.
Yeah,
he was also one of the guys that came in the press conference Tuesday,
and he got 5 targets last week. He had 4 the week before. He's been trending up, and I think he's one of the, if not most, athletic dudes on our team. He's got to be right there, 1A, 1B.
Have we seen, is little baby Billy going to be back this week?
I don't know.
I really hope not just catching punts, because that was a miserable idea.
I don't think we'll see that again.
I don't either.
But
They talked about Ethan Nation being ready, and I think that even if we don't see him play on defense like Tony White alluded to, I think he's our guy to be back there catching punts. if Kemp's not ready to go full bore.
The fact that Rhule said, I had Ethan Nation come into my office on Sunday strictly to apologize to him for not using him more in the punt return game on Saturday.
Yeah.
That says, more than likely, I can't imagine anybody but Ethan Nation at least starting as the punt returner for this game.
Unless Billy Kemp is ready to
Yeah.
go.
But he needs to be ready to at least return a
Yeah.
punt.
I think that thought, whatever went through there, I don't think that was executed very well. And there was another question from Jamie Nelson about our special teams and whether or not all the talk in the offseason about, we kind of talked about this too on the recap show for Michigan State, was all the talk in the offseason about, we want to be aggressive and we want to return punts and all those things. Was it just talk?
Mm-hmm.
He asked is the special teams really getting all the attention that having a full-time special teams coordinator, deserves? It made me think to myself, and I'm not necessarily answering this question, but it made me think to myself, is that kind of just a title that he got and he's really just more of a local recruiter? Because it does seem like the way that our special teams has played so up and down and so, I'm not talking about the kicking game being consistent or anything like that. I'm not talking about technique things of those natures, but I'm talking more about the inability to get aggressive, the inability to cover punts. We've talked about that a lot the last couple of weeks. Do we feel like we're really getting our money's worth when it comes to filling a special teams coach's spot like that?
I don't know how you can. At least in this moment, I don't know how you can feel like you're getting the money's worth because we're not doing anything.
Talking for special teams because I think he did a great job.
That's what I'm talking about.
Getting into schools and recruiting around Nebraska.
Yeah,
make him a recruiting coordinator. He doesn't need to be a fucking.
But I also I'm not dismissing what he could possibly do in the future because I maybe seeing the lack of productivity this year is just going to make them go completely back to the drawing board. At least it better. But you can't sit there and say that you're getting your money's worth so far this year when you have your longest punt return is 8 yards on the entire season. And there's no aggression. You saw what happened last year. There's no aggression. We kind of did the joke about how they talked about we're not going to fair catch and blah, blah. And then they literally went out in one entire game and said, we're just fair catching.
No, they told them ahead of time.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And then they didn't even execute the fair catches. Matt pointed that out. What the fuck are you fair catching a ball for on the 4-yard line?
Yeah.
What are you saving us? 3 yards, maybe? The ball's most likely going in the fucking end zone or bouncing back the other direction.
Yep.
I'm just saying, I don't know how you can legitimately say that we're getting our money's worth right now.
Yeah.
I do feel like...
But that also isn't dismissing the potential for the future.
That's my whole point, is I think special teams, it revolves around a few key players that we might just not have this year. And so that could be part of why he's been so heavy on the recruiting trail is he needs those guys. And so because of that, the special teams coordinator, that's something that I need to see long-term.
Yes.
To see if we're getting any value out of it. You can come in and you can fix a few guys because they actually make sense in their position. Like, I don't know, the entire defense. and they could do better. I didn't want to think of a single name because the whole defense is better.
No, but you're right.
Special teams is a little different because you have a few key players who are doing that. And so if you just don't have the players you need, you're not going to try and run a ball back if you already got 3 guys around you.
Yeah. My whole opinion was just up until this point right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
The numbers definitely don't say we had an emphasis on returning punts.
Yeah.
The main reason I ask about
or even kickoffs.
Are we getting our money's worth for having a full-time coordinator is if you remember last year, Bill Bush started the season as the full-time special teams coordinator. And that was the only position group or team or whatever on the team that you can say we saw a market improvement over the year before. And I it was very, very, very obvious. I thought that it was much better last year than it was the prior
special
year.
teams last year?
Yes. It was better than it has been this year.
Okay.
He's thinking of one play where we blocked a punt.
Yeah,
we blocked one this year. We blocked a kick this year. We blocked a field goal this year.
Kicks this year.
No, and I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm just talking about like punt coverage got better last year. The joke wasn't whether or not we would have, -1 yard rushing the entire time or returning the entire game.
Yeah. I didn't think our special teams was good last year, but
I didn't say it was good. I said it was improved over the atrocity that it was the year before.
Also, something I think we should look into, and I'm just speculating now. What does special teams look like across the country? Has covering punts just gotten better? The whole delayed punt thing that we see teams do
The
now
rugby style
has
punt
become very
has
common.
affected some
Yeah.
stuff. And that's why you're seeing. I think I heard somebody say earlier this year that there's 5 SEC schools now using a rugby style kicker.
Yeah. I mean, unless you have some sort of crazy electric returner, are we really seeing that much on special teams? Something we should
I
look
don't
into.
I mean, you do, but it's
Something we should look into.
it's not nearly as prominent as it has been in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, does a special teams coordinator even make sense? Is it useful?
I think it is very important, but that's my own opinion.
Based on what we saw prior to having one, I agree. I think it is super important. And I think Ed Foley's he's a good guy to have on staff. He's a Matt Rhule dude, and like I said, he was the guy who got into every single, he got boots on the ground in every single high school in Nebraska.
And all those coaches are wearing multiple hats. Let's not kid ourselves.
Absolutely.
Let me adapt what I said as far as that I think a special teams coordinator is important. Because I said this last year going into the season when there was a supposed emphasis on Scott Frost taking over special teams. As long as the entire coaching staff gives a shit about special teams, then special teams will be important to the team. So it's cool to have the one guy or the collective group, but whether you have the one guy or not, the collective group has to give a shit about special teams. So it's whether or not it's the one guy with the title or not, the whole coaching staff has to care about special teams in order for it to be successful.
You have a guy on the defense we're looking out for?
I just want to see the defense play the way that they have been. Like I don't want the tentative stuff. I want the aggression that
I want
Tony
to
White
see
talked
more out of our secondary than we did last week.
Yes, and we're going to need it big time.
Yep.
I'm super excited
And
to
that's
see.
a collective. I can't pick out one guy.
I'm excited to see a guy like Prince Will come back if he is 100% for this week, just simply because of the stuff that they were talking about 2 weeks ago and how his game has upped and how he has started to affect the way that the passing game looks at some of their short outs, what he does on the edge to then, essentially he's spying the quarterback, making him stay home, but also the way that he's moving, he's doing some of those upper echelon NFL type moves where he's essentially sitting in that window and making sure, and he's taking away that lower pass for them, which takes away an option, which is going to give our guys up the middle more time to get pressure back on him.
That one big hit that he had in the Purdue game, Tony White talked about that play specifically.
He took away the pass.
He dropped
and
back.
He dropped the dude at the same time.
He dropped back, took away the slant, the angle for the slant, and then as soon as he checked down, the quarterback checked down to the running back, boom, Prince Will took off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Making plays like that are going to make him play on Sunday for sure. And you need a guy like that to play against Taulia because those are bread and butter plays for them.
Yep.
We get him back, that's going to be huge.
Well,
so that's who I'm watching out for this week.
And especially plays like that, like I just talked about with the Purdue game. Like I said, their running back has the 5th most catches on the Maryland's team.
Those little swing passes, man.
Exactly.
And we're really good against those.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've talked about
open
all
field
year.
tackling is going to be key.
Well, and we've talked about that all year, how fast we're getting 3-4 guys in a picture on those types of plays. So I really think this could turn out to be a really nice test for Nebraska's defense, but also be a really nice game.
I think it's the biggest test for Nebraska's defense. We could go back 2 or 3 games, and I would say this is the biggest test for our defense the rest of the season.
We said that in the second half preview.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's go ahead and jump into the questions, man. I'm excited to see what you got this week. How many do you have?
I got 8 questions.
Ooh,
I've been having 7 lately,
8.
but I almost thought of a 9th one, but whatever.
Throw it out.
Question 1. I'm going back to this one just because it's too much of the story. Fumbles by Nebraska again. Not lost fumbles, just fumbles. I moved the number back down to 2.5 from 3.5 last week. Nebraska is averaging 3.3 in the last 3 games. Maryland opponents has fumbled the ball 6 times. 4 of those were forced, and Maryland has gotten 4 of them. Again, not that matters to the question, but the Maryland opponents have only fumbled the ball 6 times, but 2.5 fumbles for Nebraska.
By the way, all but one of those fumbles was September.
Yeah.
Jesus. 2.5 fumbles, Nebraska. I'm going to have to go with the under on this one.
Okay.
I felt like there was a good focus on the old fumble Rooski last week. I thought that something that they really talked a lot about with Haarberg getting back to the basics was 2 hands on the ball in the pocket, things like that. I think he's going to be even more mindful about that as he tucks to run a shit ton this week. And so I'm going to go under.
Mashu?
I'm going to go under. I think it's going to be 2.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
I think we still put the ball on the ground, but 3 feels like a lot.
Yep.
We really only had 1 last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though stats-wise, we showed up with 2 because the refs suck. Enough with that.
Question 2, tackles for loss by Nebraska's defense. Maryland allowed 12 last week to Penn State.
Ooh.
They have allowed 48 tackles for loss all season. 25 of them have been in the last 3 weeks, so over half of them have been in the last 3 weeks.
That's against Illinois, Northwestern, and Penn State.
Yeah.
Penn State's a great defense.
Their offensive
But
line
Illinois and
sounds...
Northwestern are not big on getting to the quarterback.
Their offensive line sounds tired.
Northwestern had 9.
That's crazy.
Nebraska has averaged 9.3 in the last 3 weeks. I'm going in between 8.5 and 9.5. I haven't really settled on a number of this one yet. Which one do you think?
Go lower.
Okay, 8.5.
I'll take the over.
What, do you want to say 9?
No, I think it's going to be more than that, but I'd like the insurance.
That's fine.
I think we're going to eat this week.
I could have gone either way on that one. So.
Especially after the way that the defense ended up playing last week. I expect the same kind of physicality that we did against Illinois. So the defense is coming out to fuck some shit up this week.
Okay.
So I've just pulled up their offensive line. They do not look small. They got a bunch of 300-pounders on here.
Yeah, but
they
if they're
don't
not
look
very
small.
good, it doesn't matter.
No, you're right. I'm just saying, Matt said they look small.
No, I said they sound tired.
Oh, they sound tired. I thought you said tiny. Sorry, my bad. I'm like, they do not, they kind of average just about 300 across the line, it looks like. I feel like, especially if Prince Will's back this week, and you said, they kind of live with throwing a lot of those swing passes out, we tend to get a couple of those swing passes every game, it seems like, behind the line. So, yeah, I'm going to go with over on 8.5. I think it's closer to that 12 number that Penn State got. I think the aggressiveness that we were lacking last week is something that Tony White's going to make a point of emphasizing this week. So, I'm getting it there. I think I'm going to call right now. Hutmaker gets a Big Mac this week. And, I'm going way over.
Okay. I'm going to go with the under. We've only gone over 8.5 twice this year. So I'm just using math, and I'm going to go with the under. I don't think it's going to be much under, but I'm going with the under.
Hutmaker's going to be making some dookie on Talia's chest.
Jesus.
Laying that pipe on the chin.
He's throwing a polar bear dump out there.
Question 3. Nebraska rushing yards, 159.5. Nebraska is averaging 146 per game since Michigan. Maryland has allowed 129 in the last 3 games. And Nebraska has only gone over 160 once since the Michigan game. So
all that math tells me under, so I'm going under.
Yeah, but it's just kind of one of those.
Especially since
defense still isn't that great.
Their defense isn't that great.
It's more, what is the emphasis going to be on Nebraska, and is this going to be the Haarberg that we've seen in the past, early in the season? That's kind of why I bumped it up a little bit.
I can't say that I hope they make in-game adjustments, and if the pass is there, they use it without expecting us to use it some. So I'm going under.
There was a part of me that when I made this number, I thought it was a little high, but again, at the same time, it was kind of more of a question of how do you think that Haarberg's going to come out in this game?
And how much do you trust that the coaches really put an emphasis on him running this week and not just trusting himself?
And also, and I'm going to get to this question in a little bit, how much do you think we're going to pass the ball? So,
because of what the weather looks like, and because it seems like it's going to be a little bit of a breezy, windy type of Saturday morning in Memorial Stadium, I think we're going to run a lot. Like I said, I'm putting a lot of faith in what the coaches are able to do for Haarberg this week and opening up his his ears a little bit, and the run lanes. So I think Nebraska goes over 200, probably 230 on the ground this week.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm seeing like 3 or 4 scores of 15 plus yards on the ground.
Okay. I'm going with the under just because I'm starting to get more towards the prove it with this running game because, again, it's been going down over the last handful of weeks every week, and I can't justify saying it's going to go over that. Question 4, Maryland passing yards, 259.5. Maryland is averaging 280 per game. They've averaged 252 per game in October. Maryland has gone over 260 7 times this season. Nebraska is allowing 221 per game, and Nebraska has allowed 260 plus 3 times this year. So basically 260, 259.5.
I'm going to go over.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I think
I'm
they're
gonna
going
go-
to have to pass the ball.
I think I'm going to go over. I think we're going to play a lot between the 20s. We're gonna go back to our more of a bend don't break. Let our aggressiveness lead our defense, and that's gonna give up some plays. Kind of like Tony White talked about him not wanting to do last week. But I don't think it gives up any major back-breaking plays. I think we're way more healthy this week than we have been for the last few weeks on defense. We've even got some extra key guys back there. We're going to stay fresh. We're going to stay crisp. We're going to stay fast. Husker speed.
And if they're looking for those deep balls, that means the quarterback's back there longer, which means we can sack him more.
Exactly. So I'm thinking that they probably are gonna pick up some yards. I don't think they pick up that many points.
This question turned really boring because I'm going with the over. We're all going over. I just think they're going to be able to throw the ball around. Question 5.
That's it. They're going to pass the ball. That's
Like
that's my analysis.
you guys said that my positivity is ran dry. Just wait. Question
It's
5.
no longer Patriots references. It's negative Jed references.
Question 5. Points in the first quarter for Nebraska, 5.5. Nebraska has scored 13 points all season in the first quarter. So they're averaging 1.4 points per game in the first quarter. Maryland is allowing 5.7 points per game in the first quarter.
So how do you come with 5.5?
Basically,
Do we score a touchdown?
do we
in the
score
first
a
quarter?
touchdown or twice, 2 field goals?
Under. Math.
Nebraska has scored 6 points in the first quarter in Big Ten play.
Under. Math.
I'm going over script.
Over, not math.
What's the script?
Score.
A touchdown.
Okay.
No, I do. Like, I feel like this is going to be that game that we're going to be able to tell probably the first drive of the game whether or not Haarberg looks like the Haarberg that the coaches talked about on the podium just yesterday expecting to see this week. He either is or he isn't. And if he is, I'm going to hit on a lot of these fucking
Yes, you
questions this
are.
week.
And
if
I'm
he's
gonna
not,
not.
I'm going to look real fucking stupid.
And if he's not, we'll no longer be tied.
Honestly, exactly what you said. If he hits, I'm going to probably score 0 this week. If he doesn't
So
hit,
you don't have faith in them fixing Haarberg. You think he's broken.
no, not, I wouldn't go that far.
Also, let's be honest. They can fix him and put him back to where he was. That still wasn't a phenomenal
it still
product.
wasn't great.
He still wasn't
Yeah.
throwing the ball even decent when he was running the ball that well.
It's not like we were
I
putting up
agree.
a bunch of points.
I'm not expecting him to throw the ball this week. I'm not expecting him to be any better of a passer, but I'm expecting him to run the ball. I think we see a solid 75-plus yard game out of him.
I still expect him to be a quarterback.
It's a high expectation.
Slow starts has been our MO all season. I got to go with the under. Nebraska defensive interceptions. Just basically, do we get one? It's 0.5.
How many
He's-
throws per game is he averaging?
Tagovailoa, I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I just saw that he had 7 interceptions. Tagovailoa has thrown 7 interceptions. Nebraska has gained 7 interceptions.
You put it where?
Just are they going to get one? Basically, I put it at 0.5.
I think with as much as they're going to be throwing the ball around, the opportunity's there. I'm taking the over.
How many games have they played?
I like
9?
9, I think. I think everybody's played
I was
9.
going to say we shouldn't still be seeing that many bye weeks.
No. So 335 divided by
so
9.
they attempt 37 passes a game. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you said it at 1.5 or 1?
Just a
Are they
half.
going to get one?
Half? I'm going with over.
Okay.
I'm going with over because that was another thing Tony White mentioned in his press conference.
Should I put it at 1.5?
No, I think
Okay.
you should leave it at a half because what do we have? One game where we have more than one?
That's why I did it.
I think that's a fair number. And
I mean, it sounds super fucking low and stupid, but at the same time,
not when
1.5 doesn't really.
Our defense doesn't get turnovers.
I know.
Not when we're the what was that stat? We're the worst turnover margin, net turnover margin since 2004.
Yeah,
by almost 50
a lot
turnovers to the next Power 5 school.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you guys
That's
what.
a shit ton.
If Tommy Hill is as ball hungry as he was a couple weeks ago, we'll get one, no problem.
And he almost got one against Michigan State.
Yep.
And if they're going to throw the ball in the air 40 fucking times in this game,
He's enough of an athlete. He'll get that opportunity.
Yep.
yeah, I could also see like one of those moments where Talia's running around back there. He's been known to
Chucks one up to try and make
chuck
something
one
happen.
up to try and make something happen, or try and throw back across the field to a running back sitting over there as a safety guy, and seeing Prince will jump that route and run a pick six or some shit like that.
His brother in the NFL still makes those mistakes. It runs in the family.
Oh yeah, you want to see Prince Will go from where he is now to like instant fucking Nebraska legend superstar.
I can't believe you guys
in
aren't
there
saying
this
his
week.
actual name. Your mama yell it.
I'm going with the over without everything that you guys are saying. They're going to throw a lot. Tommy Hill had 3 in the previous 2 weeks. He almost had 1 against Michigan State. I think I almost put it as Tommy Hill interceptions at 0.5, but I was just like, let's just do
How
the
many
team.
times does Tommy Hill catch a ball in this game?
It's Tommy Hill, Nebraska's leading
Is he
receiver.
going to randomly try and catch a kick?
Is he going to ask for the ball when we're returning one?
Yeah. Will he randomly catch a punt when he's supposed to be blocking?
Yeah, that's.
Question 7, I'm kind of going back to the old well at the start of the season. Punt return yards by Nebraska. Doesn't matter who's back there, just punt return yards. Because I think that coming off of the Michigan State game, what they did, you hear the coaches on the podium post-game, Monday, Tuesday, they talked about how much of a mistake that was and how they want to like actually try.
They own the shit out of that.
They did.
Before you say your number, under.
Okay. That's
Well,
fine.
the number better be 0.5.
It's not, but
What is it?
so basically we've had our longest punt return of the season is 8 yards. The most punt return yards we've had in a game is 8 yards. So I'm going to see if we get above any of that, so 8.5.
That's such trash. Set it at 4.5.
Why?
Why does it have to be our best punt return game? I'll go under. Who gives a
Okay.
shit? I'll go under.
Set it at 8.5, set it at 4.5, set it at a half. Under.
If it was a half, even if it was 4.5, I think I'd do it.
They can say whatever the fuck they want. They're not. That is not the emphasis of the game. We're not trying to return those.
Because there's a lot of my picks that I'm hoping that I'm right. You know, I'm not, for Nebraska's sake, I'm not hoping that I'm right. But for the picks, I'm kind of gambling a little bit this week. I'm going to gamble again and go with the over.
Did you set it at 8.5 or 4.5?
8.5.
You're a fucking madman this week.
Oh, man. Jed's all over the board. His first half of his questions
what?
were
No.
all negative.
No.
And now he's
This-
over on everything.
This all makes sense. He was negative the entire time because he was saving up all that pent up positivity for this one fucking question.
Jesus. This is a
You're
fucking-
insane.
This is a mental trap.
Last question, number 8. Nebraska pass attempts, 20.5. They average 20.8 per game. And Nebraska has gone over 20.5 4 times this season.
Let me ask you this before we answer this question. Do you think we're down early in this game?
But when is early?
First half. Down by 2 scores at any point in the first half.
Yes.
No. I don't see us being down by 2 scores at any point in this game.
Well, I think that's what you look to answer this question. If you think we're going to be down by 2+ scores in the first half, I think the answer almost has to be over. Just simply from a standpoint of 20.5 is not that many. And you look at last week we were down by 10 points at one point, and we threw the ball 28 times. That being said, I don't think we're going to be down by 2 scores in the first half, so I'm going under.
Okay.
I think they're going to wise up. I don't think they're going to put the ball in the air that much, unless we do see Purdy come out and throw the ball around a little bit.
Which we won't. It's a good set. I'm gonna take the under 2, but I think it'll be close.
This was a Matt mental trap question right here because he wants to see us throw the ball more. He likes throwing the ball more, but he also doesn't think so.
I do. I like giving our receivers an opportunity, but obviously if you're going to throw a duck 40 yards past where you're trying to throw it, it's not going to work.
Or straight to a Michigan State player.
I'm not really worried
Well,
about
if we see a Michigan State player on the field this week, we got problems.
Fair enough.
I'm not worried about how far we're down in the first half. It's most of our passes last week were in the fourth quarter when we were down, or late third quarter and all that stuff. And I think we are going to be down. So
yeah,
I'm
when we
gonna
were
go with
down
the
by
over.
10 points when we shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that'll happen.
Okay. I'm going with the over on this one. And that's all I got.
Fair. Game kicks off at 11 a.m. on Saturday. It is on the vaunted Peacock Network.
Vaunted?
Yeah, look it up. So
I forgot.
This is NBC coverage. This is on the NBC app. From everybody that there's been so much bitching about this game being on. Guys, you can get a free trial for 7 days. Go sign up for it today. It'll be still good on Saturday. You can watch it and then you can throw it away and never fucking think about it ever again.
Or keep it if you care about basketball and you can watch the Nebraska basketball team on there all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
you
whatever.
could do that too if you want to watch Nebraska basketball. It's going to be 46 degrees at kick is what they're saying. Like I already talked about a little bit, they're expecting some wind during this game. They said south-southeast by 13 miles per hour, wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour. Humidity's high, and precipitation is 0 expectation. Cloud cover in the 40s.
I just wanted to point it out. I did look it up. Vaunted was mostly used in World War II, you old fuck.
I think the weather is going to be pretty much perfect for a fall run the ball early morning game in Lincoln. I think this game sets up for it to be kind of tired in the first half. The other thing that you have to remember is they do play most of their games an hour ahead of us. So it's going to feel more like a noon game to them rather than an 11 a.m. kick. And everything in my body wants to say Nebraska comes out and smashes. I don't think that's going to be the case. Over-under on this is 44.5. I think that's a wildly high number. The only way that we get there, I think, is if they go up big early and we have to scratch and claw our way back. But I'm definitely taking the under on that. They have Maryland favored by 2.5. I have seen this line go to 3.5, 1.5, 2.5, 0, back to 2.5. Seen it kind of all over the place. I think 2.5 is a good number. I think it should have gone the other direction. I have Nebraska winning this. I think that you take Nebraska and the points there easy. Play the money line if you want to make a little bit of extra money. It's not that high. So, Matt, what do you got?
I really don't like my answer, but I'm taking under and Maryland in this game. The reason I'm taking Maryland is I think they're a much better team than Michigan State is, and we lost last week. So I'm happy with being wrong. I'd be ecstatic if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
See, but I think we're a much better team than we played last week.
I think it's on the coaches to prove that.
That's fair.
I have been battling this pick all week. I truly have no fucking clue. I barely even know what I'm going to do right now. I am so conflicted on how the hell this game is going to go. I don't know what team is going to show up. I don't know which Heinrich Haarberg is going to show up. I don't know which defense is going to show up. I don't know which offense for Maryland is going to show up. I just have no damn clue. With all that being said, Nebraska struggles to score. Maryland can score. Unfortunately, I got to go with you, Matt. I got Maryland winning this game. I think it will probably go with the over on the total. But I don't know that we can keep up scoring with them. Not that I think that Maryland's going to score a shit ton.
You think it's going to go over 44?
Yeah.
Wow,
I just don't know that we can't score with teams that can score. And whether it's the Heinrich Haarberg of Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech or not, we struggle to score. And I can't go along with that as far as winning a game like this.
My thoughts for this game kind of go back to the Colorado game. That's what scares me.
Yeah. That it might...
You think it's just going to kind of unravel in the
it
second
might
half?
get out of hand.
Just because they do have the ability to pass the ball around like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the... If we have a
They
weakness...
don't have the athletes, though, that Colorado had at the skill position.
No, but they have the offense.
That's fair.
I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to how the ball breaks early. I think if we can get on top of them, we have a good shot in this game. I think if we fall behind, we are fucked.
Absolutely.
Do you guys think the railroading that they've taken up the ass for the last 4 weeks in a row is going to affect them at all in this game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were never right after the Ohio State game.
No.
But
I guess
it showed.
But that's part of it. Like, I don't know which Maryland team is going to show up.
And then they just got re-fucked by Penn State.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they might be beaten down enough that it's a good thing for us.
Yeah.
Or they might have zero fucks to give and come out and play with zero abandon. Like,
this could very easily be whoever wins the first quarter is going to win the game.
exactly.
In the last 4 games, they've given up 149 points.
Yeah.
I think actually I'm going to flip my pick on the over-under. I think I am going to go with the over. And I think we end up winning this game somewhere in the neighborhood of 32-13.
We score 30?
Yes.
We did it once this year.
Okay.
We had to block a field goal to do it, but we got there.
32-13, boys.
I hope so.
Matt, you got a score prediction?
Fuck, no, I don't.
I know Jed won't, but
I just don't know. Even if I did do score predictions, I'm so confused by this game.
24-20, 21-17, 19,
3-2.
15. Who fucking knows? It's going to be a weird game.
go Big Red.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.